All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. Okay, so we're going to talk about sum and differences of angles, and this is going to be the part one of it. What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to introduce the rules on how to solve questions like this, the 5 rules, okay? Then also I'm going to maybe solve the sine rule here. In the next video, I'm going to solve the cosine, and I'll keep building it up like that. So please make sure you've watched the previous video in this series, because the previous video now is going to be the bedrock or the foundation for this, okay? So I'm going to just dive straight into it. So now, how do you now find sum and differences of angles? There are 5 rules to keep in mind, okay? There are 5 rules, all right? So the first thing is that you have to write down the formula. So remember in the last video, I wrote down all the formulas for the double angles, sum and differences of angle, product of angles, and the rest of it. You need to just write down the corresponding formula based on the question, okay? So when you write the formula, the next thing you do after writing the formula then is that you have to substitute the given angles, all right? Then you have to substitute the given angles. So after substituting, the next thing you have to do is to now find the values of the 3 expressions, okay? Then the next thing is to find the values of the trigonometry expression. So I'm going to just call it a trig expression. Then, when you're done finding the values into the of the trig expression, you then now substitute these values into the equation, okay? Then you substitute these values, okay? Into the equation. Okay, so first thing you do, you write down the formula. The next thing you substitute the given angles. Then after that, you find the values of the trig expression. Now, when you find the values of that trig expression, you now substitute these values into the equation. Then the last thing is then you what? You simplify. Then, and that is it. You're done. You can solve. So the 5 rules again, you write down the formula, you substitute the given angles, you find the values of the trig expression, you substitute these values into the equation, then you simplify. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start first. So if you're you're on the go, you're trying to revise, you can take a screenshot of this. So as we're going to solving the previous video, we're going back to these rules all the way till the end, okay? So let's say we are having for sine rule. Let's start with sine rule, okay? So questions with sine rule. Or let's just say question that involves sine, all right? The sine trig identity. So if I say sine rule, another different rule entirely, okay? So and I remember I told you that sine A plus or minus B is equal to sine A cos B plus or minus cos A sine what? B, okay? Now, let's solve an example. Let's say, for example, or for instance, you are given to find sine 45 minus 30 degrees. Okay, let's start with something easy, okay? 45 minus 30 degrees. Now, so you can see from this is similar to sine A minus B. Can you see? And from this point now, you can see that the A is the same thing as 45, and the B is the same thing as 30 degrees. Is that making sense? So we can apply the formula first. So the first rule says that you write down the corresponding formula for this, right? So let us write down the corresponding formula. So we're looking at sine A minus B. So sine A minus B is going to be sine A cos B minus cos A sine B. Then the rule states that you have to substitute the given angles into this. All right, so let's substitute the angles. So that means if we can say sine 45 minus 30 will be equal to sine 45 cos 30 minus cos 45 sine 30. And like you know, these are special angles, right? So find the values of the trig expressions of the equation. So let's start with finding the values, all right? So I can use another color for that. So we're just finding the values now. So finding the values, let's start with sine 45. Now sine 45 is the same thing as saying root 2 over 2, okay? Then the next one, cos 30. Cos 30 is going to be root 3 over 2. Cos 45 is the same thing as sine 45, which is going to be root 2 over 2. Then sine 30 is going to be the same thing as what? 1 over 2. So you just press your calculator in degrees because we have it in degrees. All right, so we know that now. So back now, so let's solve it. So sine 45 minus 30. Remember the second step is that you have to substitute these values into the equation, right? So sine 45 minus 30 will be sine 45, which is root 2 over 2 multiplied by cos 30, which is root 3 over 2 minus cos 45, which is root 2 over 2 multiplied by sine 30, which is 1 over 2. Okay? Now, when you solve this one, so the next rule states that after you substitute, you then simplify. Then we'll simplify this. Then this is going to give us root 6 over 4 minus root 2 over what? Over 4. Then the final answer is going to be root 6 minus root 2 over 4. And that will be the answer for that. So you see, this is why I broke it down into rules, that you write the formula first, substitute the angles, find the values, substitute these values, is that it just to help you for if you're just starting in this, so you know what to do. But if you already know what to do already, you don't need to write down just write down the formula and you just substitute and simplify. But you need to just keep on practicing, basically. Okay. Let me just pick one more example on sine, and we'll call it a day for that. Let's say we have sine. Let's pick something, an obtuse angle this time. Let's say 135 degrees plus 120 degrees. Now, this is same thing as saying sine A plus B. Okay, same thing. Sine A plus B is going to be sine A cos B plus cos A sine what? B. Is that okay? So that means in this case here, our A is what? 135, and our B is equal to what? 120. Then the rule says that after that, you should substitute the angles, right? So let's substitute the angles now. So it's going to be sine A, this is 135 plus 120, will be equal to sine 135 cos 120 plus cos 135 sine 120. Okay? Then the next rule said that we need to find the values of the what? Trig expression. We need to find the value. So let's find the values for each of them. So sine 135, if you press it in your calculator, is similar, will give you the value of root 2 over 2, similar to sine 45. Then cos 120, which is similar to sine 30, will give you 1 over 2. Is that okay? but it's going to give you minus because it's going to be in a negative quadrant, okay? It's going to give you minus 1 over 2 if you press your calculator. The next one you have is cos 135. When you press your calculator, it's going to give you minus root 2 over 2. And sine 120 is going to give you root 3 over what? 2. Now, we substitute it now. So now we can now say sine 135 plus 120 will be equal to sine 135 is root 2 over 2 multiplied by cos 120 is minus 1 over 2 plus cos 135 is minus root 2 over 2 multiplied by root 3 over 2. Then step 5 is to simplify. So that will give you minus root 2 over 4 plus, or you can just put, because this is going to give you root 2 times this will give you minus. So minus times plus will give you, or let me just write it like this, okay? It's going to give you minus root 6 over what? 4. Does that make sense? Now, minus times plus will give you what? Minus. So it's going to be minus root 2 minus root 6 over 4 over 4. And that will give you minus root 2 minus root 6 over 4. Or you can say minus root 2 plus root 6 over what? 4. And that will be that for that, okay? So that will be that. Then the next one, the next video, I'm going to talk about cosine rule, okay? Applying the cosine rule for sum and differences of angle. I'm going to use the same 5 rules and I'm going to solve it. So basically, just to remind ourselves, the 5 rules, you write down the formula, you substitute the given angles, you find the values of the trig expression, you substitute these values, and then you simplify, all right? Okay, and that'll be that for that. If you have any question, feel free, put it in the chat box, or you can send me an email and I'll get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get notification when I upload new videos. All right, thank you very much. Okay.